Hello and welcome to What the Flick. I'm Renesmee Cullen. This is Alonso Duralde.
No, because if you were Renesmee, you'd be covered in blood.
I would like to be the half vampire, half human baby spawn. That's a good gig. That's a powerful gig. Anyway,
Don't forget our...
In the Cone of Silence is a lovely gray drake.
Oh, Christy, you're half dead to me now.
The good half, right? The good half is the dead half.
Which half?
You'll be curious to find out our thoughts on the Twilight Saga Breaking Dawn Part 1, I'm sure. You're dying to know what we thought. We all saw it last night. Some of us got drunk beforehand. You'll have to guess which ones did.
In the never-ending story of Bella Swan and her... Do I go with the vampire or do I go with the werewolf? She goes with the vampire. She and Edward get married at the beginning of this movie, and then they go on their honeymoon, and then complications ensue.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, gosh. Excuse me.
Her dress was really pretty, though.
It was prettier than Kate Middleton's, I
Carolina
thought.
Herrera was the designer.
Yes, with 100 buttons down the back.
How do you think Carolina felt about someone scowling in her dress like that? Just the whole dang time.
It's the only look she has on her face. She can't help it.
At least she stood up straight in this movie.
It turns out she doesn't look any more attractive biting her lip in a wedding dress. Hey, Bella, they spent 18 hours matching my face to your dress.
I didn't recognize Taylor Lautner with his shirt on.
Yeah, he's in the movie for all
Now,
about
here's my
4
question.
seconds
You
before
see
he
him
whips
rip
that
his
thing
shirt
off.
off to turn into the wolf, but he doesn't take his pants off,
Right.
and then he comes back, and his pants are back.
Yeah.
So why bother take the shirt off?
And why aren't the wolves naked when they turn back into humans?
Right.
Do they keep
Oh,
stashes?
yes, breaking the bed.
have
That's
a
awesome.
Do they
wolf
keep stashes of
knapsack.
outfits around the forest just in case?
I always thought those pieces of clothing just belonged to meth addicts. Oh, wait, I guess it's the same thing.
Oh, so their
Oh,
honeymoon.
look, I'm touching my flat stomach. I must be pregnant.
Their honeymoon. It's nothing but water and chess matches. It's like, get it?
It's symbolism. And so they make her look uglier and more miserable.
Yeah, she
Because
looks...
pregnancy will do that to you.
She looks...
doesn't have that glow.
Oh, God, she's like a concentration camp escapee.
She
It's
is.
horrible.
The baby is eating her up from the inside, though,
Kids
right?
suck the life out of you. Am I right, ladies?
I mean, to be honest, that's what children actually do, just not as
Might as well get
dramatically
used
as
to it.
this.
I enjoyed when the wolves were talking to each other because it was very lifelike.
With their minds.
It was amazing seeing wolves yell at each other.
I will say the wolf CG is way better in this movie than in the
It's
last
not.
one.
It's
But
mostly in the
It's
dark.
better, but it's still shitty.
Well, it's better.
It's mostly in the dark, though.
You know, when they cut to the scene in Rio, I was so hoping that we'd see
Fast Five?
Fast Five. Like, that would have been awesome.
Oh my God, Vampire Vin Diesel would not sparkle, I bet.
Or a macaw voiced by Jesse Eisenberg, or
Right,
you know.
exactly.
You know, Edward doesn't sparkle in the sunlight anymore.
There wasn't really much sunlight in this.
I guess
was
it was
gonna say-
cloudy.
It was overcast.
It was cloudy during the outdoor wedding. Okay, so we have thoughts on this. In case you couldn't tell. Did anybody have fun? I mean, besides the drunken heckling,
Well,
did
okay,
any of us
right.
have
To
fun?
be clear, like, we went and had a couple of drinks. A couple of stiff drinks before the movie.
Yeah, and
Not
which,
enough.
by the way, which was the best part of the film, is you two being a little bit tipsy. I'm just saying. And also, with a close second being followed by Alonzo and I singing Christmas carols on the way to the screening. This movie was awful. It's only for Twilight fans.
And will they be happy, do you think? I haven't read all the books. I don't know.
I think that they will be happy, but it's because of what they've proven that they want from these films,
Right.
which is a lot of meaningful staring. And sometimes they really stretch themselves acting-wise. Like sometimes they go inside buildings and outside as well.
Right.
And so I think that there's just this movie's filled with it.
No, I mean, what's really sad here is that Bill Condon, the director, can actually make good movies, right?
Absolutely.
We've seen
for
great work
sure.
out of him. But yet, and there's a couple scenes in this movie where it almost transcends the source material, but they so obviously...
Like what? Like what's a good scene?
Like the toasts. The toast during the wedding. Like
Yes.
that's amusing,
They're
right?
funny,
like kind of,
you know.
Yeah.
And the way the vows are handled, I thought, okay, that's kind of artistic.
Yeah, I
That kinda
like
works.
where they kiss and everybody in the,
Right,
the
like-
congregation disappears and they feel like they're alone.
Although I turned to Christy at that point, I'm like, man, they must need to stop kissing because everybody left.
I just always get excited when I think that everyone in the film is going to die. So there's one fantasy sequence where they're standing in their bloody wedding attire on top of a whole bunch of bloody people, and I'm like, yes,
worst,
it's over.
Worst wedding cake ever. Right? The top are on a cake of corpses.
Or
I
best.
I think Bill Condon's a really great director. Unfortunately, he is saddled with these terrible novels, this cast who... several of them have proven themselves to be interesting actors in other movies, but in the Twilight movies, they sort of do the same
None of...
staring and pouting and, you know, brooding
Right.
and whatever that they always do. And so it's like, I almost felt bad for him, frankly, because I felt like
Well, 'cause they don't even-
he had interesting ideas and cool things. He comes from a horror background, but he's just saddled with this thing.
Right.
Like
They don't even bother to
Well,
fix
this
the
isn't-
dialogue.
This
right?
isn't a horror movie either, to be fair. I mean, these are not horror films.
It's a
Right, no, but
romance.
they-
These
but
are telenovelas minus Espanol.
Right, but what really irked me is that they don't even bother to fix what I can only blame on Stephanie Meyer's bad dialogue, right?
Yeah.
Like there's the argument that they're having on the honeymoon, and she's Bella's all over Edward, and Edward's like, no, don't. No, you don't. What was this, written by 12-year-olds? Come on.
And the thing with the honeymoon is like it's the moment we've all been waiting for, right? Like
Right.
Bella's wanted to do it, and Edward didn't want to do it because he was afraid he would kill her by deflowering her. And then we don't actually even see their honeymoon night. We see them kind of start to do things in bed, and the next morning
Right.
it's like the bed frame's broken, and there are down fluffs in the air, and poof, she's
Right,
pregnant.
right. The
And all-
broken bed, like
Yeah.
like that's the teenager version, like the virginal teenager idea of what great sex would be like. Oh, sex was so good we broke the bed. You know what? If you broke the bed, you're doing it wrong.
It's a metaphor for her
sorry.
hymen.
Or you purchased your bed from IKEA.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
Can we talk about the anti-abortion message in the
Oh
whole
yeah,
series?
that was weird. Where they kept insisting that the fetus be called the baby.
It's a baby. It's a fetus.
Yeah, that was
no,
that was
listen,
all
that's nothing
creepy.
compared to the subtext about arranged child marriages, with
or-
imprinting on the baby.
Yeah.
Or spousal abuse.
Or spousal abuse,
like
exactly.
he says he's sorry about the bruises and she wants more. There's a lot of weird things that you can read into this movie if you want to. And when they finally do have sex, all I could think of was that scene in Mallrats where the guy talks about how Superman and Lois Lane couldn't have sex because his
Right,
Kryptonian
right.
DNA would the baby would kick its way out of her stomach.
Right.
That's all I thought of
Yeah.
for this crazy human vampire my fetus thing.
Because
you know?
don't forget that Sugar Hill Gang called it first when Superman would bust her up with a super sperm.
Yeah, exactly.
That's exactly what that is. And the thing that I think this movie does for everyone else who's not a Twilight fan is it builds up like the Twilight tension, which really isn't tension. It's just all of these people that they want to see on screen staring at each other. So if you're not a fan, it means nothing. So the problem with this film is that nothing happens.
And yet everything happens. I mean, like it's a placeholder for the ultimate finale, right? But it's just chock full of stuff. Like, how are you going to get a whole second movie out of this? Like, you already
like,
have the wedding and the
but
baby
what's-
and the
but-
childbirth.
And the imprinting, all the stuff I thought was going to be saved for the second. We're like, whoa,
Like, what
we're
more
getting
is
this
there?
now? Like,
There's
what's
more.
left?
But there's so many things over and above that it's just badly written source material. The worst part the thing that really bothers about me is that this is a popular franchise that has such an effect on the view of sexuality that's so sad. Right?
Like where the abstinence is what it
Well,
preaches?
I mean,
Abstinence is
it's
sad.
just sad. It's just, it's
giving teen girls a lot of really awful messages.
Right, exactly. It's it hurts, but you got to put up with it. And,
I might
and you might
die,
die,
but it's
and
for
pregnancy
love.
will suck
Yeah.
the life right out of you. And again, like with the whole, then Jacob imprints on the baby, and in the books, like there's this big deal, like Meyer goes a long way to make sure, like, oh no, that's not Skeevy, like he's just the protector and something. But then they end up together, right? And so
he
it's
has
like
these flash forwards of what she's going to look like as like a teenager.
Right,
and
it's like,
something.
well, I better stick around for this one.
What
Like,
the hell?
it's just, it's skeevy and weird and sad.
You
right?
guys,
It's-
I just had a horrible thought. You're right, it's skeevy, weird, and sad. Those are all the words I think of. But I just realized that a lot of people talk about the first 7th Harry Potter just like this. That this one was some people said that the first 7th Harry Potter is boring, whereas the second one is just 100% action. What if Twilight all of a sudden just became just like Harry Potter? I am
we
freaking
should be
out
so
right now.
lucky.
No.
We should be so
not
lucky.
gonna happen.
No.
Oh, and speaking of child brides, let's not forget that Bella is 18 and Edward is like 111 something.
Yeah,
Yet
right?
exactly.
somehow he still doesn't know where babies come from. What is wrong with these
And his
vampires?
organs are dead
Oh
inside,
no,
as
he
John
knew.
Lickman
We
pointed
saw
out.
him chew that baby out of her.
Why is he not shooting blanks?
No,
Yeah, and Anna Kendrick actually does make that joke, like, here's
Yeah.
our friend, she's 18, and she's getting married, and speaking of people who have been good in other movies, like
Anna Kendrick, love
Right.
her.
There are
yes,
people,
they
there's
must
hope
have
for
a
people.
contract she can't get out of.
All right, should we do numbers?
No,
Why
yeah.
would
A
she?
bit
She's
of-
rolling
The other
around in
thing
her
I
big
wanna
piles
say-
of money. Why would she want to get out
The
of
one
that?
other thing I do want to say is I have to say that when we get to see the baby, and after all of the trauma of how that baby's killing her, the fact that it comes out looking like a baby is really disappointing.
It's a really pretty baby.
And I'm sorry, spoiler alert, but I wanted to see the little alien baby from V.
I thought about
Like,
that
that's
too.
what
the
I wanted to
eraser-
see,
the
right?
eraser
Like
head
the little,
baby.
yeah, exactly. The little, like she has one baby, and then the other one crawls its way up. Like, that's what I wanted to see.
I was hoping that it would be like, I think it's that them or they live or something,
Yeah,
whatever, where it's like
exactly.
baby getting thrown on other people. No!
Well, we'll come back in a year and we'll have this whole discussion all
Oh,
over
yeah.
again.
Yes,
when,
and we're going to get even drunker before we
when
see the next movie.
Breaking Dawn.
Oh, I'm
Part
gonna
2.
mainline heroin.
It's not going to help. All right, let's do numbers. Alonzo, please.
This is a dumb movie, but it's not Bill Condon's fault. It's all the other Twilight garbage. 4.
Matt Atchity.
1.5.
Great
That's
Drake.
probably too high.
Yeah.
I give it a 2.5.
Okay, I'm giving it a 3, so I'm somewhere in the middle here.
You guys are all wrong.
I think I just had fun.
too high.
I had fun hanging out with you guys. I get an extra point just for that.
This conversation was a blast.
It was.
Yes.
All right, so that's a 2.8 from us.
That's too high.
I believe, though, it's somewhere around there in your
It's in the
world
20s
as well.
on the tomato meter, and that's too high as well.
All right.
Everybody's wrong about this movie. It sucks.
We'll see you guys in a year. Thanks. Bye.